Welcome to a bit of a special edition here, a bit of a special event. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be deep diving into the agency sales process, and something that I am excited about with this program is we're going to be moving much more towards talking about specific parts of the entire agency process as opposed to just productization and SEO agencies, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, every presentation, every time I come on here and do something live, it's going to be very specific, it's going to be very targeted. And where better to start than the sales process, as the sales process is the first part of this journey. Today, we're going to be talking about the specifics of the agency sales process. We're going to be going through a diagram that I have. I know people love diagrams, love process charts. So we're going to be going through that. So one, if you haven't joined our Pro Slack community and you enjoy presentations like this, you should really be a part of it. It's $59 a month, less than the cost of dinner. You get access to weekly live streams, not just with myself, but people like Kevin Indig, major SEO player in the game, Brendan Huffer, Julia McCoy, talking about all things content and AI. It's a great community. Plus, you get access to myself. So anytime you post a question, I film a lot of Loom videos, give people a lot of feedback in there. So make sure you check it out and join. Just go to the blueprint.training and check out our Slack community. That's announcement number one. Announcement number two, again, is moving to this campaign-based focus now. We're going to be heavily focused on the sales process for agencies the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be doing a live training, a live presentation. It's going to be 8 different sessions. It's going to be taught personally by me. I'm going to give you the entire agency kitchen sink, if you will, when it comes to sales, templates, call scripts. I'm going to be running you through the process that we'll be following here as well. Call scripts, templates, and again, live training where if you want to send your sales rep, if you or your agency team, executive team want to join, it's going to be everything about how to close deals in today's climate, in today's everything that's going on. Sales from an agency perspective is always overlooked. It's always kind of dumped on the main person or the founder, if you will, within the company. It's like, oh, I got it, I can do it. But I say this a lot, is you don't really have a full agency until you've properly pulled yourself out of the sales process and hired a sales rep. So that doesn't mean that you shouldn't or couldn't be doing it yourself or lending a hand, but I'm going to really teach you, or whoever does sales within your agency, how to close more deals, how to build proper proposals, how to scope deals properly, how to price deals, how to make the right offer, how to stack services, all these different things. It's something that I think I do very well. And I'm going to be teaching this personally. So I'm very excited about it. So drop some comments in the chat if you want to find out more about it for when that goes live. It'll be next month. I'm very excited about it. Again, live training, calling it the Agency Sales Bootcamp. Very excited about it. Okay, so what you're looking at here, this is the entire agency sales process that we teach, we coach, I live by, and I'm very much so back into the weeds of doing this again because I'm in the process of hiring a new sales rep at our agency. So I've really had to spend the time going back through our processes, our call scripts, follow-up templates, how we're managing our CRM, and really had to rebuild the process a little bit to be, I don't want to say modern, but these systems and processes need constant maintenance. The sands of the market are shifting underneath us when it comes to looking at something like AI, right? How is that impacting us? Well, it's putting downward pressure on pricing. What I mean by that is that it's commoditizing work. It's making content more accessible, easier to create. It's going to start automating parts of the job as well. And we have to be very mindful of that when we're putting together pitches, we're trying to close and attract leads. We've got to be aware of what the market is doing. So this requires a constant maintenance of your process, a constant deep dive into different elements of it to see what can be improved, where are we leaking potential clients, etc. So this all kicks off with the lead generation process. So there's a bunch of different ways to generate leads. We're not going to get into that now. We mainly focus on 2 things: organic content creation on social media. I do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn and YouTube, and then also paid traffic on Facebook, right? We send that directly to a call booking form on Calendly. They fill out a few questions for a discovery call. Now, discovery call here is key because so many agencies get this part wrong where they're either trying to be too salesy, right, and trying to get a sale up front. You look at a program like the Blueprint, which is a coaching program, we're able to close people on the first call because of the fact that we're always talking to the decision maker. We've properly identified and aligned our audience with our offer. So we have like 1 or 2 call closes here at the Blueprint. And a lot of people in the agency space, when they think of sales, they think of like Wolf of Wall Street, right? Like hard closes, like deadlines, timelines. I wish it were the case in this line of business, but it's just really not. It's much more of a consultative approach to selling. And with that is the understanding that it's going to be a longer sales process. And you can try and speed it up. You can try and give hard closes. You can try and do all these different things. But the fact is that the agency space is a consultative sales process. And very rarely it happens, but you'll one call close people who are like, yo, Ryan, seen your stuff, really want to work with you. Send me a proposal. Let's do it. That happens 1 out of every 40 leads that we get, right? Just zip right through. But a large majority of them are bound by a number of factors, which we have to be aware of. And we have to bake this into our sales process. One of those factors is budgets, right? Like a lot of marketing teams or companies are given marketing budgets that agencies fall into. So you have to be aware of the budget cycles, what they're currently spending on. Are they currently engaged with an agency? Are they currently under contract, right? Like you can give all the hard closes if you want, but if they told you that they're locked into a contract, then a hard close isn't going to do anything, right? So there's timelines, there's seasonality, there's ups and downs, right? Maybe they saw a spike in their organic traffic. They're like, oh, we'll hold off on this, right? So the point is that you have to be aware of how long this sales cycle can be, and just putting together like traditional sales tactics here doesn't always work. So the first part of this process after the lead comes in is running a discovery call. So the purpose of a discovery call are a couple things. First and foremost, to qualify a lead. So the way that I look at marketing, right? Marketing and sales. A lot of times people blend them together, especially at the agency level, because it's usually you doing a little bit of everything, talking to the founder, the executives here, that the line between marketing and sales gets blurred. The role of marketing, this is my definition of it, is to get people excited, to get them to feel, from the B2B agency process anyways, to get them to feel something to drive them to action. Marketing is about using content and messaging to drive action, right? And that action, people take action through emotion, right? So the goal of marketing is really to get as many people in here as possible. Now, we can qualify them through questions on the form, which we'll do, right? Talking about like a minimum investment to move forward, like it's $10,000 on average. Can you invest in this? Yes or no? If they say no, boom, you automatically disqualify them. We ask them for their website, their business. If it looks like they're too far in the beginning, they don't have any traffic, they don't have a website, boom, they're disqualified. So we use the form to qualify people too. But again, the goal is to pick up as much engagement as possible, because we want our sales reps to be able to close them, because sometimes they might look unqualified or seem unqualified, but really they are qualified, right? So for example, if somebody's like, I don't have a website, and you're like, unqualified. Well, maybe they're a startup who just got $1 million in funding and they need help with that process, right? So the point is that I look at the role of the actual sales rep, the salesperson. This is why it's so important to get a sales rep out of your agency so you're not wasting time on this. Part of it is dealing with tire kickers and dealing with people that are unqualified. So the first step is to qualify people. So using questions, and again, we've got this amazing discovery call script that we teach inside the blueprint. We'll be teaching inside of our agency bootcamp as well. Again, make sure to drop a comment if you're interested in finding out more about our agency sales bootcamp. Going to be kicking off later in the month, private training with me. We've got an amazing script that goes through the questions to ask, how to build rapport, and then really, again, to like, there's something key here that you're going to hear me say throughout this, which is anchoring. Anchoring for sales is when you're able to set your pricing against an expected result, aka an anchor. So you're setting your price against an anchor. And we want to start that process during the discovery call. And some questions that we can ask during this process to kick that up is things like, how many leads are you currently getting? Are you tracking them? What's your average cost per customer, your acquisition cost? What's your average customer value? And then how many leads do you want to get to? So we work with law firms. That's what we specialize in doing. So they work on a lead basis, but if you're e-commerce, it could be sales, it could be revenue, it could be whatever it is. But we will always want to tie it against some sort of conversion-based metric, some sort of business result. Because when we're talking about just traffic or keyword rankings, it's very flaky. There's no business results that's tied to ranking first for a certain keyword. There's no business result that's tied to just increasing organic traffic. Now, organic traffic is a key part of that equation to figure out what their conversion rate is and how much business value you can drive. But it's really important that we start this up front. Asking these questions, writing them down during this discovery call process, then allows you to get this verbal buy-in from them, right? They're telling you what they want, and you can build your proposal against what they want. It's so critical to do that, because if you can get in writing saying, okay, you're getting 15 leads per month now, you want to get to 50 leads. Is that correct? Yeah, 50 leads is what we've kind of discussed internally. We think that we'll hit the next gear of business. Perfect. Your proposal should be geared towards telling them how to get to 50 leads a month, right? And this is so key. We don't sell services, we sell results, right? The service is the mechanism, is the vehicle to get those results, but that's also how you start to properly scope out a deal. Because so many people are like, how do I charge more? It's like, well, show me how you're selling. Like, show me your proposals. And they're like, yeah, well, I'm quoting them at $5,000 a month for 12 months because why? Well, because I want to be on a retainer. Like, okay, you want to be on a retainer, but does the client want to be on a retainer? What is this investment of, what is it, $60,000 over the next year have to do with their business results, right? So that's step one. Like, if you want to sell more, you've got to really work on this anchoring process, and it starts on these discovery calls. And then importantly too, we want to get verbal interest from them, right? So we'll kind of give them this like, oh, okay, to get to 50 leads, we're looking at probably X, Y, Z in services. That'll probably be around X dollars per month. That's not an exact estimate. I just want to give you some ballpark and make sure that you're still with me. Is that something that you feel like is in your range? I don't think so. That's too much. Well, okay, so let's scope this down then. Getting you to 50 leads, probably what it's going to take, right? There's a lot of effort to go there, but then X, Y, Z, right? So we're already starting to go through this process too, like dealing with these objections all the way at the beginning. So you don't go through this entire process and put together a proposal that takes forever, so much time and energy to have them ghost and just have them gone, because it can all be cleared up on this very simple call up front. So we want to get the verbal interest. And then importantly, we also want to schedule a follow-up, because part two of this process is doing an actual analysis. So during the discovery call, okay, is this person qualified? No. Okay, then we're going to add their email. We use ActiveCampaign, whatever marketing system they're using, just make sure their email goes there. So that way, you know, when you send out a newsletter, when you send out content that you create, they're getting that, and they'll circle back in the future, a month, a year, 2 years, whatever. I actually just closed the deal from 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I had a call. They weren't really there at the time. They just circled back around, and we just closed them 4 years later, and they were on our email list. So make sure that you add them here. You're communicating with them automatically over the long run. So if they are qualified, now we're going to move into the analysis. So discovery call and then analysis call. So we want to make sure that we book this analysis call on the initial discovery call. That way it's on their calendar. That way we don't have to get stuck in the email of, hey, did you see this? Follow up. No. Get it booked, get it on the calendar. And then that way you've got a date, right, set. And if they want to cancel it, they have to reach out to cancel it, right? So this then gives you the buy-in to start to put in the time and effort. So up to this point, all the energy that we put in is a 30-minute phone call, right? 30 minutes max. We don't want to do anything. Like, I see some people showing up to this call with like work done, analysis, proposal. Like, no. Like, again, it's a long cycle. Be patient. We got a date before we marry. And like, again, this is a very consultative process. So this analysis here is key, because this analysis is going to do so much for you. One, it's going to help you properly scope an agreement, right? So we talked about like setting leads and giving them an idea of what it's going to cost. That's just off the top of your head. Like, you kind of know what you're going to charge people ahead of time, right? But the analysis is where we really scope it out. If we're like, yo, they are really bad at content writing. Like, we can't just give them briefs. We're probably gonna have to write the content for them. We'll hire a new content writer. That needs to be scoped out. Or if it's like, yo, this website is a mess. Technically, we're gonna need a developer. They said they don't have a developer. So like, this analysis part is critical to scope, number one. Number two, it's also critical to get buy-in from them. Because imagine if you're on the other end of this. And I've learned so much about sales by being a prospect now, right? I do a lot of consulting for brands. And part of what I do for them is I help them to find the right people and the right vendors. Agencies, consultants, contractors, whatever. So me being on the other side of that now, getting all these pitches, I realized how bad agencies are at sales, because they send you like a blanket proposal. They're like, here, like, this is what we do. This is our service. Like, I don't care what you do. I care about me and I care about you solving our problems. And if you can't demonstrate that to me, then you're not going to get my bid. I'm not going to pay you $100,000 to do your service. Like, no, that's not the way this works. Like, I need to see that you understand what our problems are, right? I need to see that you understand what our business is. I need to see that you can come in and have an impact on our business. And if you can do that, right? So again, talking about this concept of anchoring, this is all part of the process. This is part of the process of convincing them that you're capable of doing the work. Another big question that I get is like, hey, Ryan, I'm brand new. I don't have any case studies. It's like, case studies they're the most overrated thing in the whole world, right? Nobody spends time reading case studies. Very few people do. And it's much more of a checking the box. Like, okay, Steve's company, like, they've done this for other companies, so they can do this before too. If you don't have case studies, this is where you check that box, right? You show them that you can handle the work by doing a proper analysis. So we do what's called a top 10 analysis. I teach this inside the Blueprint training. This is going to be a key part of what I teach in this agency bootcamp. I'm going to run you through my analysis of how I can look at a website, and within 20 minutes, I can tell you everything that it needs to be done. That comes from 15 years of experience in this game, working on marketing campaigns across all sorts of different brands and industries. I'm going to break that down for you heavily in the agency sales bootcamp. And this is a critical part of why. If you're an agency owner and you're still doing sales after all these years, this is probably why you're stuck, because you haven't been able to find somebody who has the sales skills and the sales skills would be like organization, right? Like ability to use a CRM, do follow-ups, not afraid to call people. Oh, wow, look at this. I just realized that this is see-through. Oh, okay. Sorry. Doesn't matter. Anyways, right? Those are like sales skills, right? Not afraid to make somebody uncomfortable in terms of calling them up, texting them, getting a decision from them. The other side of that coin, right, is the ability to understand marketing, the ability to be a consultant, the ability to find, analyze problems. So I'm going to teach you how to do all the agency sales bootcamp because it's such an important part of this process. Like I'm telling you, send me your salesperson. I'll train them. This is probably the most important part of agency sales, is being able to be a trusted partner and consultant, right? Again, this is how you bypass the lack of case studies, the lack of results. Like I've never worked in this space before, but if you can clearly go to them with an analysis and show them, and let me pop one open here. So this is one for a law firm. This is the analysis. So I put down like the initial meeting notes, define the goals. Again, this is important, like going through everything that we talked about. Got the Ahrefs report here for the review with them. And then I've also got our traffic projection tool results, which we're going to go through in a moment. And then I go into my analysis, right? And I use Notion because it's seamless to be able to do this. But this is what I'm teaching you how to do, because then once you do this, right? So come back here. So we run the analysis, we run the traffic projection. So if y'all don't know, we just finished building this tool. It will be released on Monday. I cannot wait. It's a tool that allows us to forecast the results of an SEO campaign using keyword data. So we build that projection, we put it in there, and now we've got data that anchors, right? We've got actual data that anchors the ROI of the campaign, right? That we're pushing the analysis process. So I've got the problems, the issues, the opportunities that I found with my manual analysis. I've got my traffic projection that I've run, and then I've got high level recommendations, right? And also compile the notes. So I do this in Notion. You can do it in Word doc too. This is what I have to now show up to this analysis call. So now, right, we show up to the analysis. I run the analysis with them. I run them through what I found. I get their head nodding. Yep. Okay. This is good. I show them the traffic projection analysis. I show them where they are. This is important. I show them where they are, and I show them where they could be, right? And I get them to buy in on that. That's why this tool is so impactful, because it shows them where they currently are, right? And where they could be. Now we're talking about data and projections. We're not talking about, oh, in 6 to 12 months, you can probably get this. No, we are giving them actual data based on their website, based on the market, based on competitors. So with this data now, what I'm able to do is I'm able to say, okay, I just ran you through the analysis. I showed you where you are, where you could be. Now, let me tell you exactly how we can help you get to 50 leads a month, get to X leads a month, get to X sales a month, get to that first place rank, whatever the goals are, right? And then I go through like a high level scope, and this high level scope is always templated, right? It's pretty much always going to be the same thing. I'm just massaging it and maneuvering it based on what it is that I believe that they need to get there. So for example, like law firms don't need a ton of content. I don't believe in like massive amounts of content anymore. So I'm able to scope out like 20 pieces of content ahead of time. Like we got to improve your practice pages. We got to create some, supporting content, blah, 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 et cetera. That's 20 pages. Also looking at where your current performances based on links. You need about 50 to 100 links over the next 6 months. It's going to cost. We also need to go through and do a strategy. We're going to do some paid search, strategy work, all this different stuff. So I put that in and I give them a high level cost of what it's going to cost. Again, high level, because it's not exact, because I have to go through and build it out. The key here thing is, again, just getting that buy-in on the analysis that we did, the approach, and then the price, right? I will not put together a proposal unless I get a concrete yes on all those things, because otherwise the proposal takes a good amount of time to put together. Now I'm wasting my time and energy putting this stuff together for them when they've never given me that verbal approval for it. I got a couple questions here that I'm just going to go through real quick. Naveed asked, if you have results, but in a different niche, can you still pitch, or if you don't have the industry knowledge? So like when you really break down the analysis of how I teach how to do analysis, it doesn't matter if you have industry knowledge or not, because we're talking about marketing knowledge, right? I don't work with coffee shops, but I can look at a coffee shop's website in the market and I can tell them exactly what they need to do and put together a proposal for them. If they can pay it or not, if they make money off it or not, is the reason why I don't work with coffee shops. Same thing with e-commerce, even if I don't have specific product and industry knowledge, which is what this discovery call is for too. You want to ask them questions about themselves and about their business, because people love talking about themselves. They don't want to hear about you. They want to hear about themselves. They want to talk about their business. They want to talk about their problems. They want to talk about what they want to achieve. So that's why the discovery call is also critical. The analysis call is then customizing that to them. So we're saying, we took a look at your business and this is what we think. This is how we can help your business. This is how we can customize our work to fit the needs of your business. Active. Okay, so that's the analysis call, right? And then same process here. Is it qualified? And then also too, we want to set a date for the proposal. That's the final thing here. So after this call here, we say, okay, yes. Are you good with the price? Is this something that you can afford to fit in your budgets? I'm not 100% positive, but yeah, it looks good. I think we can do it, especially if you can get those results. All right, perfect. So in terms of the next steps, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna put together a proposal and a detailed scope of work. It will have everything that you need to make a decision. It's gonna have the pricing. It's gonna have the timelines. It's gonna have everything that you're gonna get from working with us. Sound good? Yes. Okay. I want to review it with you though, because it get a little bit complicated. And I want to make sure that I can answer any questions that you have ahead of time. So again, if they say no, they're not qualified here, then you put them back to campaign for future, whatever email platform you're using. If yes, right? Because proposals can take time. And this is important because so many deals, in my opinion, are lost if you don't get them a quote fast enough, right? If you're sitting on an interested person's, like you've gone through 2 calls with them now, you've done an analysis for them, you got to get this proposal done within 3 days max. 3 days max. So it's important to set that date. It gives you a deadline to work against, but do not wait once you have interested people. Because if it take, like, this has happened to me before. It actually just happened to me and I'm kicking myself in the ass for it because there was a miscommunication between me and Caesar. I thought he was going to send it. I thought I was going to send it. It ended up taking 2 weeks to get them the promised proposal. And at that point, he was like, look, I'm sorry, we went with another vendor. We really wanted to work with you, but we didn't hear from you. So we assumed that you weren't interested. So it's really, really important. So what you can do in the meantime here too, is to send them an email in between calls, right? And this is between analysis calls, between discovery calls. Use emails as a check-in. Say, hey, Steve, really excited. Almost done with your proposal, going through the final checks. Just wanted to let you know we're good for XYZ date. I'm also going to send it to you about an hour early so you can take a look at it before we jump on the call, right? And just tell them that you're looking forward to talking to them again, right? So like that touch point, very critical, very important, very, very good way to make sure that if you're running late on a proposal, then you can get them the information that they need. So the next step is to build a proposal. The proposal process is actually pretty simpler. So there's a proposal template that we use. Again, bootcamp, you get access to all this stuff. Proposal template, just customize it a little bit. We basically take the analysis that we did, put it into the proposal, put together a pricing document, which is really, really, really important. We have this amazing spreadsheet that we use to price, really helps people to understand exactly what they're getting, when, and how much it costs them. Critical part of this process, again, like when you zoom out from this whole process, you're going to see that we answer questions inherently with this process, and it's very, very meticulously curated on purpose. There's a reason why I built all these like little checks and points into here, and that's because there's details and there's nuances to this. It's just as much an art as it is a science to make sure that we're sticking with the right communication, they're getting the right information that they need, and that we're actively taking away objections. What are some examples of that? Well, the anchoring is one. I don't really see the value in this, or this isn't really a priority for us right now. If you show them that you're going to make them more money, it's a priority for anybody. The whole point of this, the whole thing is to make more money to get them more leads. If you show that to them, that's going to take away that objection. Oh, this costs too much. Well, I showed you that, yes, our services aren't cheap. It's going to cost you $10,000 a month, but we're going to be driving upwards of $50,000 a month once we're up and running. Is that not a good enough ROI for you? Right? Like, we're talking about ROI. We're not talking about cost. It's another part of this, is that as an agency, you're going to get dropped into a line item on a budget, on a spreadsheet. And you need to be able to break through that by communicating results as opposed to services. Because if you're selling services, you're selling an expense. You are an investment. You're not an expense. An investment means there's growth. An expense means that you're just taking, you're hitting you're taking away their taxable income at the end of the year. Right? And people don't want to pay for expenses. I mean, they're happy to pay for it if they have a budget, but people get excited about investments, right? A new investment opportunity, right? We're going to make you money. We're going to make you customers. We're going to make you look good for your boss. We're going to help you grow. That is the category that you need to fall into. And this sales process is geared to do that. We literally built the traffic projection tool to help communicate that. We literally built a piece of software because it was so critical a part of the sales process. We've been using it internally for 4 years. And it's been like the number one catalyst for us to close more deals, to increase close rates, and to take away objections. So you're going to put together that proposal, and then you're going to get on a pitch call with them. And during that pitch call, you're going to present it. And this is quick. This is like a 15-minute call. This isn't like a go through every slide because it's boring as shit. This is, again, hitting on key parts of the proposal. One is the proposed solution. So you already talked about the approach. You talked about the problems that they have during the analysis. So you don't need to rehash that, right? You talk about the proposed solution. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. This is when we're going to do it. And this is what it costs. That's what you want to go through. You want to make sure that they clearly understand and nod their head and buy in on the work that you're going to be doing for them, how much it costs, and when they're going to be getting it. That's all you want to go through on this pitch call, right? And then on the call, you want to say, hey, look, I know you're busy. You want to talk to internally about this, but can you give me an expected decision date? When can I have a decision from you? Can we do Wednesday, next Wednesday at 10 a.m.? right? Whatever that is. They say, yeah, sure, that's fine, even though they probably won't do it, but it's irrelevant if they actually do it or not, because then it gives you a reason to follow up, right? Because otherwise you get stuck in a situation where you're sending follow-ups just to annoy them, right? And it's annoying, but it's like, hey, Steve, you told me by Wednesday you'd have a decision for me. Is there any questions I can answer? Where are you at? And then that gives you something to follow up against. So you're not being annoying. It's something that they told you. They're being now held accountable. And that's a huge part of this, is flipping the script on accountability. Because when you go through all this, right? And I think we're through this whole thing now. So then this just goes into closing, following up, sending agreement templates, invoicing, etc. And then you kick off into service delivery, right? So here's a full sales process, right? So what we want to do is we want to switch the accountability to them, because we are doing so much damn work here. We're giving so much damn time. And I know firsthand the pain and the kick in the stomach that it is when people ghost on you. By building accountability into this process for them to be held accountable for your time, it's a game changer, right? So that's this entire process. Then once we get to close, we kick them into service delivery, we go into the sprints model, right? So that's it that I've got on this process. I'm going to open this up. It's a new microphone, Naveed. A lot of people look at lead generation as like the biggest problem, but I'm like, yo, if you just double your close rate on sales, it's going to be the same thing without having to go through like expensive and pain in the ass marketing. It's like conversion rate optimization, if you will, for your sales process. So the benefit is that I work for you on the live bootcamp. I'm here at your disposal. So I'm really excited about this, because this is also the way that we're going to be moving a lot of our programs. Is going to be like a live element and then recorded element afterwards. But it's the best way that we can keep you up to date with the best information out there, because building a whole program takes forever. And this is much more iterative. I can read the energy. I can direct it in the way that the audience wants to go in. Naveed asked, do you need funnels? You do not need funnels. We use funnels because we're very good at paid traffic and all that stuff and content marketing, but you don't need them. When it comes to lead generation from a marketing point of view, you should find, especially if you're doing less than a couple million in revenue, you only need one lead source, really. Because again, if you are good at sales and you get 10 leads a month, you close 5 of those, you got a good business on your hands. But if you get 10 leads a month, you close 1 of them, you're always going to be in the situation where you're client in, client out, client in, client out, and you're constantly churning and you can't really stack growth. So you don't need funnels. You need to figure out one thing that works for you. That could be marketing on LinkedIn or Twitter. That could be cold outbound. That could be going to events and conferences. I'm actually hiring a new sales rep for our agency who's very old school. I think he's like 58 years old, and his skill set is much different than mine. I'm an inbound. I want to sit at home and market to people and create content. He's like, no, I'm going to look up every single trade show and event that lawyers are doing the next year. If you give me a budget of $50,000, then I'm going to hit every single one of them and generate leads by hand, the old school way, by shaking hands and having a beer. So you do what works for you. I couldn't do that. I'm an introvert, and that would be exhausting for me. And I don't really want to fly all over the country going to events about lawyers. But he does. So you figure out what works for you. Cindy said, yes, we struggle with closing and are struggling with the sprints model to the larger price point. So thinking more focus on overall savings with sprints and the value. Yeah. So Cindy, that's a good point, right? The sprints model is great to get you to 50 to 70K a month. But once you get there, you've got to figure out a way to charge more for what you're doing, because the sprint model, you can get locked into a certain price point, and sprints are easier to sell. They're easy to get leads for. It grows faster, but just like any offer, it's going to cap out at a certain point. And that's why you see us at the agency with Weber's now stacking paid search on top of that, because it opens up an entirely new, it doesn't open up a new service. It opens up a new level of results that we can give people, especially the speed of results. So it's the same type of results. They're getting the best possible quality leads from search engines, but we're able to do that within 30 days or less. So that's part of what we'll talk about too during this agency sales bootcamp, is offer manipulation and like service stacking. So many people ask us, they're like, hey, I do sprints, but like, I don't know, like, can I do email? You can do everything, but like, you have to be very mindful of what you offer, because what you offer and what you sell is going to impact your operation. So just throwing like email marketing on top for 1 or 2 clients, it's not going to be effective, because you're going to break process. I have to sneeze, hold on. But when you have a very targeted approach and a very meticulous and strategic approach to building your offer, whether that's paid search, whether that's building a funnel, whatever that is, thank you, Cindy, is the name of the game, right? It's not about stacking services. It's really about putting together a better offer that incorporates the services in the right way, that doesn't create too much operational mayhem and chaos in the back end of your business, but, also allows you to charge more by delivering more results. right? Naveed asked, do you prefer local clients? No, I mean, technically attorneys are local, right? So I do also think local search is going to make like a big resurgence with businesses with the dawn of AI, because local searches probably won't get cannibalized by like AI tools within search engines, right? Like if you're looking for like a local termite business, you're really just looking for a list of results with like reviews and phone numbers, right? So local, I think, is going to make a resurgence from a service point of view, but like it's really important that you understand the who when it comes to local, meaning there's a difference between an attorney ranking locally for Miami personal injury versus a coffee shop rank for Miami coffee shop. Ranking an attorney for, Miami personal injury attorney is going to net them millions of dollars. Ranking a coffee shop for Miami coffee shop is probably going to net them next to nothing based on, profit wise. All right. So it looks like it's it. So I'll just wrap this up by again saying, one, if you're not in Pro Slack, definitely check it out. Worth your time. And thank you all for your time. Thank you all for your attention. I appreciate you all showing up in the middle of your Wednesday. And as always, we're here to help. So take care, y'all. Have a great day.